Greetings, sir and sirettes, and welcome back to Stonehearth with me, Lathrix, and of course, welcome back to our humble little village on the Isle of Zeech. In today's episode, we have one very simple goal, which is likely to take quite a bit of time, which is to finally start building our gatehouse, which will serve to have two purposes. The first of which is it's just going to look nice, actually having the main building finally in this section of walling, but also it's going to funnel enemies down a very narrow corridor so that we can attack them a little bit easier, especially since if they are indeed going down a corridor, we could hide our troops around the corner, and thus the enemy archers would have to go all the way into melee range before they can actually shoot us. Now sadly, with the game as it is, we can't really have archers on the top of the building because it simply doesn't work properly. We've tried to do this in the past. I have tried to do it a little bit off camera, building mini sort of, I don't know what you would call them, mini towers if I'm being generous, essentially lumps of rock where my archers stand on top of, and it just doesn't work as you would think it does. This also goes for things like the turnip shooter. And apparently one of the turnip shooters have been destroyed. So most likely we're just going to have all of the defenses on the inside of the gatehouse, since we can't even really close the gatehouse for the same reasons of enemies sometimes spawning inside, spawning in caves, or just knocking down the door and us not being able to shoot them because, again, the archer problems. Which is a shame. Hopefully as the game develops, things like that will be made easier. And I'm not even saying that it's actually impossible now, it's just difficult and kind of frustrating. So let's get designing, and let's figure out just how big this is going to be. What I'm thinking is almost an exact copy of this section, twice, with a more heavily armoured up looking section of wall between them, which will house two separate doors, or perhaps at least two separate archways, as placing a door could cause issues. Okay, so I think I've decided how I'm going to do this. We're going to put down two towers, which are going to look really similar to the small stubby tower over here. Each of these will be connected to a tiny little piece of wood, well, a little piece of wall, I suppose, but a bit more wooden and less stone-like than the rest of the wall, which I still need to finish off, by the way. And then in the centre, there's going to be a gatehouse segment, somewhat similar to this, but a little bit more square, and perhaps with the corners a bit more pronounced, so it looks a bit sturdier. In the middle of this, there will be an archway, and then doors going into each of the towers and the wall segments, so once again, you can get between everywhere nice and easily. Once this is all done, we can start working on our dock, we can start working on our park, and we can make everything look a little bit prettier. One thing I do need to do soon, though, which should be fairly easy, is make a small silkweed farm. At the moment, we're only making herbs as a regular farming effort, and we have this silkweed over here, which is annoying to harvest at the least, and problematic because I keep on forgetting to do this. And then it simply stays unharvested, and then we don't make any extra money. As people who have been watching this channel for a while, and especially Stonehearth will know, silkweed equals money. Weed is the way you get money in this game, in a fairly literal sense, actually. The silkweed itself, I think, is worth only 1 or 2 gold each, but it can be made, if I can find the correct place, there we are, into our beautiful wall-mounted tapestries incredibly easily, because it doesn't even require the need to be turned into bolts of cloth or spools of thread or anything like that. So you can actually have a load of silkweed farms and only a couple of weavers, and you get a load of money from that. Because what else would you use weed for other than making beautiful, beautiful paintings? We're an innocent people. We're lovely people, actually. And the daily update. Wow, our net worth has gone up very, very quickly. Hurrah for building once again. Okay then, so who is our new person? I believe we already have one other person who needs to be named, but soon as they appear, we will have another person to name. As soon as they appear. Any second now. Please? No, that's a dangerous goblin. That's not our new friend. Unless he wants to be our friend. There we go. Hello, new person. At last, you bald fellow. You are a cultist, of course. 4 of body and 4 of spirit. 2 of mind. You're going to be a worker forever, I'm afraid. That's not really good enough stats for any specific job, but honestly, we do need more workers, so you're fine. So we have you, who needs a name, and we have our knight. There we are, and since I've took such a long break between episodes of Stonehearth, because, let's face it, I got kind of addicted to From the Depths again, still am, but really need to push other videos as well. I do love other videos, and I've kind of not got the list up of the name suggestions, so consider this a second chance to name all of the people. Don't worry though, I will be looking back at the last video in addition to this one, so if you don't want to repeat yourself, you don't have to, but it's always helpful if you do. It just makes it easier for me, because I'm a lazy bugger, let's be honest. Why are you so happy? Good. You had nice food. Okay, and ladders go down. I'm currently leaving the top open because I'm not 100% sure on how we're going to be doing this. And ignore this build in the background, that's just as a reference so I know I'm doing everything correctly. Hello there, simple merchant. You have nothing I want, but I may be able to sell stuff to you. There you go. Enjoy. And you can have those as well. And you are now gone. So, we have this little wall section here, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, which will also be on the opposite side, and then we will build the other tower. So actually, maybe placing down the other tower first would be good, simply placing it right flush against the water, and then we can keep on building the 2 sides, the 2 side of wall, until we reach the center then being the actual gatehouse segment itself. You know, that sounds way more reasonable. Okay, that's the base design without the doors properly connected. Well, it has some of them anyway, but let's just make sure we don't forget about that, and let's place that along here. As I build more and more of this, I'm realizing very quickly I do not like this segment at all. So there's a very real chance, once we've finished here, I'm going to do something different here. It just doesn't match the rest of the build at all, so maybe we simply build this up and make it into a central tower, a little bit larger than the rest, a little bit more grandiose, or we remove it and instead place something smaller, and then have 3 of them rather than a single, so it looks like we've at least reinforced this major section of wall. Honestly, that was the original intention anyway, to simply place this because this was kind of bland looking, but it just seems out of place, unfinished, just not nice looking, so definitely need to do something with that. Also, why aren't you guarding there? Also, what are you guys doing? I'm so glad things can't drown in this game. Did you just drop a rabbit pelt there? Okay, I am just confused by all of you. Anyway, hello there, Havards, fine rugs and garments. Would you like some gold? We have gold. Enjoy your gold. I am so glad we added all of these extra beds in the crafting section here, because we still have 1, 2, 3, 4 beds spare, so you can go and sleep there for now, which should make you very, very happy. Also, I am getting so much lag. Now we have so many buildings. Whenever I'm in this particular version of the building vision, in which I can see through walls, just look at that frame rate. 10 frames per second. Then we simply go away from it, and I'm back to a solid 90. Yep, that's really, really CPU intensive, apparently. Looking through walls, the more CPU intensive hero power. I was meant to say superpower then, but apparently I've been playing Hearthstone a little bit too much. Blame this game. Just look at the names. We are building this wall because of you. Please kindly leave. We are escorting you peacefully away from our great wall separating our 2 worlds. And now you are on fire. This is what happens when you don't comply. We are a peaceful people and you're making us less peaceful. Build faster. One end game option people keep on talking about is the idea of completely draining one of these lakes. Now that isn't actually too difficult to do, it's just remarkably time consuming. So what we would do is we would build something here to separate these two sections, so we're only working with half of it, and then we would continue to mine down and down and down. So there we go, that's one of our mines currently, and then we have little sections all over the place. And then we simply mine out a really large area over here, going down layers and layers. After all of that, we finally make a tiny hole here, so all of the water rushes out, leaving this area completely dry and really, really weird looking. The issue is, that would take hours to mine out such a, honestly, substantial area. A random thought though, what we could do is make a bit of a dry area over here. So what we would do is build two walls, one here, or perhaps one here in the water, and then simply mine under this section, thus causing a bit of a land bridge rather than building a regular wooden bridge. And that would be kind of awesome, and of course that would give us access to these mountains over here, to all of this section, which then we could wall off once again, still forcing enemies to spawn over here. And yes, that is the first time I just noticed this crypt. Hopefully it hasn't been there for too long. A little bit of a mountain over here being cut off. Okay, so minions, go and kill the crypt. Whilst I think about doing this, I'm actually so interested in this, I may put down some plans now, but simply delay the building. So, let's just start off nice and simple, wooden walls with stone columns, so just something like this, all the way along. And then we do that again over here. Let's make it a bit bigger, let's make it like here-ish. Okay, there we go. This also means if we do ever want to drain one of these two sections, all we need to do is simply remove one of the walls. Yeah, I really like that, actually. This should be a fairly easy fight. Even on hard mode, the crypts aren't too difficult. Their main issue is the fact they can disease your people, which of course makes them heal slower. So, better to remove this now than later. Lots of random low-level armor. And there we go, excellent. Can you please get back? Because, well, you can leave the tombstones. They're not all that scary. And let's just put down a quick ladder here so that we can actually get down there. Okay, that seems reasonable. And then what we can do, rather than have a ladder up here, we can actually have a proper staircase. And then once again, build a wall here and here so that enemies can't spawn and simply get in. And we have a new person. Okay, today is going well. A good welcome back to Stonehearth. Hello there, my dear. You have a 5 of mind and a 5 of body. You would make a good archer, and with that hair, I am tempted to call you brave. Here we are, the walls have now been built, in addition to 2 small slab sections to make sure things can't jump onto the walls, and then simply run across and kill all our livestock and all of our poor civilians. So soon we are going to go ahead, complete this mining section, and then drain all of the water from here, which will then give us a new area for farms or livestock or pretty much anything else, maybe even a couple of buildings. Now that is something useful. Our lovely Ragnarok, our current engineer, has just leveled up, which means soon we can place down additional turrets, and right now we can start building the regular turrets, which are significantly more effective than the turnip shooters. I mean, that's not really overly surprising, is it? One of them is shooting, I believe, arrows, the other is shooting turnips. And sadly, not quite there for a brand new person. Hopefully, before the end of the episode, we will get at least one new person. And of course, someone is here to sell us doors. Sure, why not? Why not brave the wilderness to sell doors? Speaking of the wilderness, a little fight. If everyone could move up a little bit, that would be great, and focus on the healer, that would be even better. So many knights, so many tanks. And soon, once I can be bothered, one of our newest people will become another archer, so our little fighting force will become even more powerful. In fact, soon I should build the next gong, so that we can send in the next main group of enemies. But right now, I'm planning on draining some of the river. Lake. Water body. Water. I have been watching random digging and running away, and then digging and then running away for the last 15 minutes. And people wonder why my sanity is constantly being threatened. So much digging. On the upside though, we are getting a lot of clay, which means we can finally start making some of the clay items. I think one more layer down, and then we can definitely remove all of the water from above here, and thus use that section of land for farming, or building, or something in general, without all of this completely flooding, only the underside here. Then after that, when we start really planning to dry up this entire lake bed, we can simply go ahead and dig down somewhere else, because this really isn't the best location for that. Or maybe what we can do is block off somewhere thin like here, and then drain one of these sections first. Looking at the end game stuff now, since we are pretty close to finishing everything, the only things we need to do now are the other quests for Township, which aren't on the notifications anymore. Either way, they're the military version, the economic version, the merchant version, and the religious version. I think we have the military version currently. Let's have a quick look-see. And we have the military version. Okay, so that's not too difficult getting the other two versions. Here's a question. Can we even farm on this type of tile? I really don't know, because I've never completely drained an area of water before. Well, if we can't farm there, all it means is that we can move some of the trapping areas or some of the shepherding areas, and thus the farm can take over this area instead. Either way, it works out completely fine. It's just completely dependent on how we do this. The last layer is now going down, and after this, hopefully we can go ahead and drain this entire section, so that we can use this for various things. Also, it's now time to finally harvest this forest, which has completely grew into the large oak trees. So finally, I've got used to actually placing these correctly, allowing them to all become fully grown before we harvest them. That will be a lot of wood. So, go ahead, cut down those, dig that section. All of our future plans are finally coming together. Excellent! One of our head leaders in our merchant division is now here, and so we can sell some more stuff, get some more space, and thus collect some more stone. The forest is removed, and we have over 150 logs for that one little section. We really don't need to worry about logs for the future. That is so easy to set up, and we get so much from it. I'm actually considering getting a second carpenter to make some money from it. And so it's time to drain this little corridor of water, which is a really weird way of putting it. Okay, if someone could go ahead and dig that out, that would be glorious. Well, that's just depressing. After making all sorts of different shaped holes, building in different locations, yeah, as you can see, walls apparently in this game do not block water. I am actually really disappointed by this, because I was actually using this as a bit of a experiment, because over here when we build the docks, I wanted some sections without water, I wanted some sections with water, and now we simply can't do that. So a lot of time today has been wasted, but at least we now know this. It's just a little bit saddening. So the water simply goes straight through. So I've decided to revert the save. it's not a complete waste of time, I suppose. We can go ahead and build a bridge soon, even though that isn't exactly what I wanted over here. And this mined out section can be used for something, and it's got us a lot of clay and a lot of stone, so not a complete waste of time, but certainly not the best use of our time. So let's go ahead and continue building the base gatehouse. We still have a plan for today. This rabbit is hungry. I'm amazed that hunger is its biggest problem right now. Water in this game, not as scary as you might think. That's interesting. Because we have built in this direction and then actually built on the land, enemies are now spawning over here with no way to actually get into our base. I bet there is actually a very clever way you could build in which enemies would never spawn in your base or even able to get to your base. Well, at least they got a nice campfire made of skulls and wood. Well, here's something interesting. Apparently you can place farmland in the water. No. If that actually works, I will be amazed and really worried about the physics in this game, even more than I already was. Well, let's see if they end up actually planting. It's one thing to actually dig out the zone. It's another big deal for actually growing stuff underwater. Although it would be cool, that would be a great addition to this game if there were some plants which could only be grew underwater, only be grown underwater, only be planted underwater. You get the idea. Just having it so you had to have certain areas filled with water in order to get certain crops. If nothing else, it would certainly be very, very interesting and would promote building in very different ways. Okay, so it seems like you can place down the farmland, it can be tended to, so it turns into this type of farmland, and then that's pretty much it. So it's been dug out, but you simply can't grow anything when it's under the water. Okay, so let's see how we are going to do this then. Ultimately, I don't want this to be too big. I want it to at least be impressive, but if it's too oversized, then I feel like the wall will look a little bit too small, and we will maybe lose our villagey feel. Having a massive wall around something so rustic would look very, very odd indeed. So how about something like this? Let's put down this and this. Okay, I would like the walkway to be at least 4 wide, so let's move that out and move this out. So my idea is we build 2 sections and we build them completely separate, and then we connect them with the floor. So the first floor will connect, the ground floor will be completely separate, so it's essentially 2 different buildings. I think that makes a lot of sense. That way, our little walkway in the middle could be very easily done, and we could make it into a proper arch. So actually, I would like that to be a little bit wider, just so we can actually build the arch correctly. Foundation, foundation, and foundation, foundation. Good. Then let's place these, if possible. Any reason why I can't place the walls on these? I mean, if I can't, I can just manually do it. Huh, that's weird, it doesn't recognize this. Unless it's because of our lovely people being stationed there. Move out a bit. Let's try that again. There we go, yeah, it was just that. Okay, so a slight change of plan. We're going to move the entire thing 1 back. Or at least make it 1 thicker. Actually, 1 thicker would probably be the easiest way to do this. There we go. This way, we can also have doors on the inside, like here, which would just look a lot better. So, let's go with the fine wooden doors. There we are. Kind of looks like the Nintendo Switch logo, doesn't it? That's really weird now I've seen that. Anyway, let's continue on. So, the arch will just be up here, and it will be in a very similar style to how we've done the rest of this wall. And apparently my voice is now going because I've been recording for far too long today. Okay, the next step is to add the reinforcements to the side to make it look a little bit more realistic. So, going with the same over there, let's do this. Then 5 on the top, and then a 2 space, and then 2, and therefore we've still got the gap here, because we don't really know what we're going to be doing with this section just yet. Then let's go ahead and put down one of these. Ta-da! Okay, that looks a little bit better, at least it looks a little bit more 3D. We also need to do that to all of this still, but that's a lower priority for now, so let's do the same to the other side, and then we can start working on the next layer of the gatehouse and making this section here look a little bit more attractive. I really should connect it all up to the roadways as well. Hello there, we have friends. Okay, the system actually works. All of the archers had to come through, making it a lot easier for us. Rather than them simply spreading out everywhere. So what we need now then is to put some of the turrets over here, or maybe in the corridor itself. So, good news and bad news. The bad news is that we don't really have enough space here, so the archway isn't really being created as I would like it to. So I'm not 100% sure how we're going to do this. What I may do, instead of building into this section, so let's just remove this, maybe we'll build over the top instead, leaving this area completely empty. Maybe that will look a little bit better, who knows. And here's the good news, we do have a new person. I was so hoping that would work. So, as soon as they spawn in, let's have a look-see. So, hello there. 2 of mind, 2 of body, 3 of spirit. You are a herbivore, and you like to craft things. I don't know what I'm going to do with you. You want to craft, but we have no crafting positions open, and because of your low mind stats, I think you're going to be upset, I'm afraid. Truly, the face of a villain. Okay, after testing out a lot of different builds, I'm still not certain how we're going to go about this. So for now, I am going to call the episode because I've been recording for far too long already and I really want a new Stonehearth video to be finished so that we can get straight back into the game properly. Overall today, we didn't really do all that much, but we did at least progress in a few ways. We have some more people, we have some more value, and we've at least made this section completely so the enemies do have to run through. We now have also leveled up Ragnarok, which means we can go ahead and start placing down the proper turrets, which are of course much more powerful than the turnip throwers, which we can simply place over here, so as enemies are funneled through here, the turrets will do their job and do some damage for us. So, with that, thank you so much for watching, and please bear in mind we do have various people who still need a name. We have 1 worker, we have 2 workers, we have 3 and 4, and then of course we still have our knight. If you would like to name them, please in the comments below make sure to give me the name of the person you are trying to rename, and then your suggestion. This just makes it far easier for me to find those comments when I'm making my list. So, thank you so much for watching. If you have enjoyed the video, then of course, likes, favourite, shares, comments, all that good stuff helps out me, helps out the channel, and most importantly, shows that Stonehearth is a series you wish to see continued in the future. In the next episode, we will be finishing off the gatehouse, finishing off the walling section, and then making the place look a little bit prettier if we have time. Thank you again for watching, and goodbye.